What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? This is Mary T, and I am your Marvel Maven. And today we're going to be talking about love in the long boxes. Hey, before we get into this, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us with the channel and so encourages us to continue doing what it is that we are doing here on this channel. So let's get into it. I'm not going to belabor the time. Let's go. Have you ever asked yourself why some Marvel relationships feel like destiny while others feel like a filler issue? I'm bringing over 50 plus years of fandom to the table to ask this question. Why isn't Luke Cage married to a black woman? Let's get to the heart of it as we talk about Marvel's most controversial couple, but we're going to deal with the whole story. You see, sometimes you have to go back to understand what each of them have going on and where they come from before we can go back to the future, like what's happening now. But we're going to deal with the whole story. They're one of Marvel's most powerful and iconic couples, but behind all of that world saving, there's a history and story of trauma, infidelity, and a fiery debate about race and representation that divides fans to this day. From their celebrated origins in the comics to the shocking twist in the Netflix series, the relationship between Jessica Jones and Luke Cage has always been a lightning rod for controversy. So, what's the real story of Marvel's most debated couple? And in an era demanding better representation, does their love story actually hold up? Hmm. Let's break it down. Let's look at the origins first. Who were they before they met? Before they were a couple, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones were two of the most broken people in the Marvel Universe. And we're dealing with 616, by the way. You really have to get to who they were on their own to understand why they were such a firestorm together. Jessica Jones wasn't always a cynic. She was once a hopeful costume hero named Jewel. But that all ended when she fell under the horrifying, absolutely completely horrifying influence of Zebediah Kilgrave, the Purple Man. Now, if you want me to do a deep dive regarding the Purple Man, put a purple heart down in the comment section. So, for months, he completely stripped her of her free will, forcing her to endure unspeakable psychological torment. And I would even stretch out on a limb and say physical torment. The whole ordeal completely shattered her. She hung up the costume and traded it for a leather jacket, a bottle of whiskey, and a PI license. She became a walking open wound, distrustful of everyone, especially other heroes. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, you have Carl Lucas, a man who also had his life stolen, framed by a childhood friend. Man, it's the ones you least suspect. Friends or family. Lord have mercy. So he was framed up by his childhood friend. And then after that crime frame up, he was sent to Seagate prison for a crime he didn't even commit. Inside, he was put through hell by a sadistic warden and a crooked medical experiment that was basically supposed to kill him. Instead, it gave him superhuman strength and an unbreakable skin all over his body. He busted out of prison, reinvented himself as Luke Cage, and started a new life as a hero for hire. You got to get that cheddar. Cut me the check. Cut the crap and cut me the check. I'm not mad at him. So while Jessica was hiding from the world, Luke was putting himself right in the middle of it, a protector for the common person, the everyday Joe and Josephine, a symbol of resilience in Harlem. Shout out to Harlem, New York City. Listen, one was running from her past, and the other was trying to build a future on top of his past. It was only a matter of time before their worlds were destined to collide. Now let's tap into the meeting and the alias investigations. So their story really kicks off from the pages of Alias, a comic from Marvel's Max imprint, which means it was gritty, it was explicit, and absolutely not for the kids. This wasn't your typical superhero meets a a girl, if I could say it like that. It wasn't like boy meets a girl in the park and we both get ice cream cones and it wasn't cutesy cutesy. After they dealt with a rough case, especially with Jessica, she stumbles into a bar owned by Luke Cage. There's an immediate raw physical attraction, and it leads to them having a one night stand, in essence, being cut buddies. And if you don't know what that is, you go look that up. Then it leads to another, and another, and another, and so on and so forth. It quickly evolves into I would say a very complicated friends with benefits situation. hmm And this original version is so important because it builds on the foundation of messy but mutual respect. There are no huge deceptions. She's a cynical, hard drinking PI, and he's a street smart hero who's seen it all. In the beginning, their relationship was physical, but through those late night encounters and a few shared cases, a real bond started to form. Jessica, who trusted no one, eventually felt safe enough to tell Luke about her trauma with Kilgrave, the deepest, darkest part of her soul. And Luke, a man known for his cape chaser reputation, didn't see her as damage. He really only saw her strength when she couldn't see it about herself. This slow burn of them learning to trust and love each other is what made fans fall for the pairing in the first place. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. Their dynamic was rocky, sure, but whose dynamic isn't rocky? Let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. But it was also extremely authentic and loving. It started with knocking boots, but it grew into something so much deeper. And it all led to the bombshell moment at the end of the Alias series that changed everything. Jessica turns to Luke and tells him that she's pregnant with his child. Okay, so here we go. The unconventional family, New Avengers, and Civil War. Let's touch that for a moment. Now, Luke's reaction to the pregnancy, that's one of the moments that defines their entire relationship. In a world where heroes have secret identities and chaotic lives, a lot of guys would have turned tail and run away. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. But not Luke. He didn't even hesitate. He stepped up to the plate, being a man's man, his face showing pure joy at the idea of being a dad. He proposed, and after some classic Jessica Jones reluctance, she finally said yes. Their wedding in the New Avengers Annual #1, and I'll be putting, the comics that I'm talking about in the description. This was a rare moment of pure happiness in the Marvel Universe. It was attended by heroes like Spider Man and Wolverine, and it was officiated by a minister who looked suspiciously like Stan Lee. Jessica's vows showed just how far she'd come as she told Luke, I'm inspired by you. I don't get lost in my own head like I used to. Aww, everybody cue the aw. They soon be welcomed their daughter, Danielle Cage, named after Luke's best friend, Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist. Luke and Jessica become something incredibly rare in comics, a stable married power couple. They juggle saving the world with parenthood, even hiring Squirrel Girl as Danielle's babysitter. If you don't know who Squirrel Girl is, because she is that girl, I'll leave a link to her comic origin again in the description box. But their family bliss was seriously tested during the first superhuman civil war. The conflict was all about the Superhuman Registration Act. Luke, a man who was wrongfully imprisoned, became a fierce, fierce opponent of the government oversight and led a group of secret avengers. Jessica, on the other hand, just wanted to protect her daughter. So she initially registered. This put them on opposite sides of a bitter war, creating a very realistic strain on their marriage, as it would in anyone's marriage if they had to go through that. But their bond was strong enough to get through it. She eventually joined him and they faced the future together. For over a decade in the comics, they were Marvel's unbreakable couple, a benchmark for a healthy, supportive relationship that had overcome incredible trauma. They were indeed a success story. And then, child, Netflix happened. Now we're about to get into the moment that redefined this couple for a whole new generation and kicked off a firestorm of controversy. Hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, help us out by hitting that like button and subscribing for more deep dives into comic book history. Now let's step into the MCU and the Netflix controversy. When Jessica Jones hit Netflix, it was praised for being dark, mature, and powerful, and a powerful addition to the MCU. It brought Jessica's trauma to the screen in a way that no one had ever seen before. But it made one massive change to her backstory with Luke Cage that completely altered their dynamic and sparked a huge controversy. In other words, everything was retconned. Child, and this is why I do not like retcons. I can safely say, and this is a very strong, strong, strong word, I hate retcons that happen because it messes up the original flow and canon of a story. I don't care what title it is. I cannot stand a retcon. And I'll more than likely be doing a deep dive on why I don't like retcons in another video. But let's continue. In the Netflix series, Jessica Jones, while under Kilgrave's mind control, killed Luke Cage's wife, Reva Connors. This never happened in the comics. This single plot twist reframed their entire relationship from one of slow building trust into one built on a horrific secret. Jessica stalks Luke, takes pictures of him, then deliberately starts a relationship with him, all while knowing she was the one that killed his wife. So, was she really under the influence of Kilgrave or no? If you knowingly did it, that's a question that needs an answer. The show explores her guilt, and many critics and fans felt it never truly dealt with the profound violation Luke had experienced. When he finally learns the truth, he is disgusted and betrayed. And show is, okay? In one gut wrenching scene, he tells her, You touched me with the same hands that killed my wife while you knew. Mm-mm-mm. That moment poisons everything. Everything, everything. The trust, the intimacy, it's all tainted. This creative choice effectively fridged Reva Connors, a black woman who is barely a character, according to Netflix, and reduced her to a plot device to fuel the angst of the female lead. Hmm. Fan reaction was split. For viewers new to the characters, this was their first impression, so they really didn't know, nor did they understand the dynamics and history between Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Hmm. For longtime comic readers like moi, it was a massive source of frustration, and a lot of us, it left us feeling like a healthy, beloved relationship was sabotaged just for cheap drama, clicks, and views to Netflix. This toxic dynamic became defining and for many, the most unforgivable part of their on screen story. All right, if you're not buckled in, you need to buckle in right now because we're going to talk about race representation and the modern era. Let me get a sip of this tea as I spill the tea. The Netflix controversy was one thing, but as the MCU has grown, the conversation that has been simmering in the blurred community for years finally boiled over. One centered on race representation and a simple question: why isn't Luke Cage married to a black woman? As far as all of this new stuff, the new retcon stuff is going on. Now, in the comics, Luke and Jessica's relationship has been praised as one of Marvel's most prominent and lasting interracial marriages. They are a black man and a white woman with a biracial daughter, and this dynamic has long been seen as progressive. And it is. However, as discussions about on screen representations have evolved, so has the criticism. With actors Mike Coulter and Kristen Ritter teasing a return, a significant and vocal part of the black fan community has voiced strong opposition to seeing this pairing in the mainstream MCU. The heart of the argument is this: there is a severe lack of prominent, healthy black couples in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Luke Cage is not just another hero, he is one of the OGs. He is one of Marvel's premier black superheroes, and his solo series was celebrated for its focus on black culture, music, and community in Harlem. To many fans, it's a profound disservice to both the character and the audience to sideline that cultural identity by not pairing him with a black woman. I mean, come on. There's several black women in Marvel that he could have hooked up with. I mean, I'm just saying. For these fans, bringing a black cultural icon like Luke Cage into the MCU only to place him in a interracial relationship feels like a massive missed opportunity for a kind of powerful representation that is desperately needed on screen. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at any interracial relationship. For me, you love me, I love you. We're not going to harm each other and harm our family. Listen, key word here is you love me? Yeah. I love you? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we can build together in this world. So by no means I don't want anybody thinking I'm hating. I how dare I hate? I wouldn't I wouldn't even try. But I digress. Let's get back to the commentary. It is desperately needed on this screen. We need to see powerful, iconic Black love represented in the Marvel Universe. Whether it be 616 or 618 or 613 or 212 or whatever, pick a number, pick a universe. Of course, not everyone sees it that way, unfortunately. Other fans argue that campaigning against a well established, loving interracial family from the comics is a problem in itself. They see the comic version of Luke and Jessica as a positive example that shouldn't be erased. This puts the couple at the crossroads of a complex and passionate debate. And here it is. Is it more important to preserve a well-known relationship from the source material or to use a character as culturally significant as Luke Cage to create a powerful on-screen representation of black love that is so visibly absent, is glaringly absent within the MCU? Now, while there's no easy answer, it places this couple right in the middle of a major cultural debate. The story of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones is really a tale of two different realities. In one world, the pages of Marvel Comics, they are an inspirational and aspirational power couple. They're survivors who found each other, built a family, and stood on strong business. And they have a strong bond together, becoming a symbol of cultural endurance and a celebrated interracial family. Or I'm just going to say family. How about that? Now run tell that. In the other world, the live action television world, their story is one of toxic secrets and ethical compromises, a dark affair that pretty much was doomed from the start. The controversy around them isn't simple, it's got layers. It's about the frustration of comic fans who watched a beloved, healthy relationship, mind you, get twisted for the sake of drama. And now it's about a passionate and vital debate over representation and whether their comic book legacy should be carried over into an MCU that is starving for prominent black couples. So, where does that leave them? Are they Marvel's best love story or its most problematic love story? The answer really depends on which version of the story you're looking at. Does the strength of their comic book bond outweigh the messy on screen adaptations and the urgent need for a different kind of representation? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Well, that's all I have for right now for this particular topic. This is Mary T, the Marvel Maven, baby. And stay tuned for our next clip and episode. I'm out. Peace.